In her life of service, we saw that abiding love of tradition, together with that fearless embrace of progress, which makes us great as nations.
Breaking tonight, a royal story so explosive, so unexpected, that even longtime palace insiders are whispering the same question behind closed doors. Did Prince William just slam the door on his own brother? Because according to reports now circulating through royal circles, something dramatic may have just happened behind the towering gates of Balmoral Castle. And if the whispers are true, it could mark one of the coldest decisions the modern monarchy has ever seen. Sources claim that William has finally drawn a hard line. A line that allegedly keeps Prince Harry far away from Balmoral at the very moment the royal family prepares for one of the most symbolic milestones in its history, the approaching 100th birthday tribute to Elizabeth II. But wait, that's not the only twist. Because while the headlines focus on the brotherly feud, another quiet shift is unfolding inside the palace walls. Insiders say King Charles III has begun handing over real authority, not with a grand speech, not with a royal proclamation, but with a silent transfer of control. So what exactly happened behind palace doors? Did William really shut Harry out of Balmoral? And is this just a family argument, or the beginning of a completely new era for the monarchy? Because tonight, the story is far bigger than a royal sibling rivalry. The quiet transfer of power inside the royal family did not begin with a dramatic announcement. There were no flashing cameras, no official proclamations, and certainly no carefully rehearsed speeches delivered from a palace balcony. Instead, the shift unfolded slowly, almost invisibly, behind the historic walls of Buckingham Palace and the windswept hills surrounding Balmoral Castle. But make no mistake, what was happening inside those private rooms was anything but ordinary. At the center of it all stood King Charles III, a monarch facing increasing pressure from both the public and the relentless machinery of the modern media. For months, whispers had circulated that the king was quietly stepping back from certain family matters, especially those connected to his youngest son, Prince Harry, and Harry's wife, Meghan Markle. Their departure from royal duties years earlier had already shaken the institution. But what followed, interviews, documentaries, and the explosive memoir Spare, had turned a private family disagreement into a global spectacle. Inside royal circles, patience was wearing thin. And that is where Prince William entered the picture. Unlike his father, William had developed a reputation among palace insiders as someone far less willing to tolerate ambiguity. Where Charles preferred diplomacy and quiet reconciliation, William reportedly believed that the monarchy could not afford endless compromise, especially when its reputation was constantly under scrutiny. For years, the brothers' relationship had been strained, but insiders say the real cracks began forming long before the public ever noticed. Their childhood bond, once strengthened by shared tragedy after the loss of Princess Diana, gradually transformed into something colder, more complicated. Different personalities, different priorities, and eventually, entirely different visions of what royal life should look like in the modern world. Harry wanted freedom. William wanted stability. And when Harry and Meghan stepped away from royal duties in 2020, that divide grew wider than anyone inside the palace had expected. But even after leaving, the Sussexes remained global figures tied to the monarchy through their titles and heritage. Every interview, every media project, every public statement seemed to reopen wounds that the palace was desperately trying to close. According to several royal commentators, the situation created what insiders called a permanent storm cloud hovering over the institution. Then came the moment that reportedly changed everything. According to sources familiar with palace discussions, a private meeting was held earlier this year within the grounds of Windsor, a gathering meant to address the growing tension before preparations intensified for the upcoming centenary celebrations honoring Elizabeth II. The late Queen's legacy was expected to be one of unity, dignity, and reflection. The last thing the royal family wanted was another round of public drama overshadowing the occasion. But during that meeting, something unexpected happened. One palace aide, speaking anonymously to several tabloids, claimed that William made his position unmistakably clear. The monarchy, he argued, could no longer operate in what he allegedly described as a half-in, half-out reality. Either someone represented the institution fully, or they stepped away from it entirely. Then came the twist that stunned the room. According to the same source, William reportedly suggested that certain boundaries needed to be drawn, boundaries that could include limiting access to key royal residences, including Balmoral itself. The room, insiders say, went silent. Because Balmoral is not just another royal estate. For generations, it has been the private sanctuary of the British royal family, a place filled with childhood memories, summer traditions, and the quiet presence of history. It was also one of the places most closely associated with Queen Elizabeth's life. The idea that one royal family member might be kept away from it, especially as son of the king, was almost unthinkable. Yet the rumors didn't stop there. Within days of the alleged meeting, royal watchers began noticing subtle signals that something had shifted. Invitations for the traditional summer gatherings appeared more tightly controlled than usual. Palace communications grew unusually cautious. And on social media, speculation erupted after one royal commentator posted a cryptic message claiming that the Balmoral guest list this year may reveal more about the monarchy's future than any speech ever could. Whether coincidence or deliberate strategy, the message spread rapidly online. Soon, hashtags questioning the relationship between William and Harry began trending again, with thousands of users debating whether the royal brothers had finally reached a point of no return. And if those rumors are even partially true, what happened behind palace doors may have been more than just another family disagreement. It may have been the moment the future king decided the monarchy needed new rules. At first, the rumors sounded like the usual palace gossip, another dramatic headline that would burn brightly for a few hours before fading away. But this time, something felt different. Within days of the alleged meeting about Balmoral, royal commentators began noticing strange signals coming from inside the palace. Invitations for the traditional summer gathering at Balmoral Castle appeared unusually restricted. Certain guest lists were reportedly revised. And according to one anonymous staff member quoted by several tabloids, internal security procedures were quietly updated in ways that hadn't been seen before. That's when the internet exploded. A royal watcher on X, still known by many as Twitter, posted a cryptic message that quickly went viral, hearing whispers that this year's Balmoral summer list has been adjusted. If true, this could confirm what many suspected about the feud between Prince William and Prince Harry. Within hours, the post racked up hundreds of thousands of views. Screenshots spread across Reddit threads, TikTok breakdown videos, and celebrity gossip pages. Suddenly everyone online was asking the same question. Had William actually drawn a line that his own brother could not cross? Then came the second twist. A well-known royal podcast host claimed that multiple insiders had confirmed something even more dramatic. According to the show, discussions inside the palace were no longer just about invitations, they were about access. One source allegedly described it as a clear restructuring of who belongs within the working royal circle. And the implications were explosive. Because if access to Balmoral, one of the royal family's most symbolic residences, was restricted, it would send a message louder than any official statement ever could. Social media reacted instantly. One viral tweet read, "Imagine being born a prince and then getting locked out of the family castle." The royal drama between William and Harry just reached Netflix season finale level. Another user fired back, "Maybe actions have consequences. You can't attack the monarchy publicly and expect unlimited royal privileges forever." The debate spread like wildfire. Fans of Prince Harry accused the palace of orchestrating a cold and calculated exclusion. Others defended Prince William, arguing that protecting the reputation of the monarchy had to come before personal family ties. Even celebrities began weighing in. One British television personality joked during a talk show appearance, "Honestly, if my brother wrote a tell-all book about me like Spare, he wouldn't just be banned from Balmoral, he'd be banned from Christmas dinner too." The audience laughed. But behind the humor, the tension was real. Meanwhile, major news outlets started picking up the story. Headlines questioned whether the royal family was entering a completely new phase, one where emotional reconciliation was no longer the priority. Commentators pointed out that this alleged decision came at a particularly sensitive time. The royal household was already preparing for global tributes marking the 100th birthday of Elizabeth II, a moment meant to celebrate unity, stability, and the legacy of the longest-reigning monarch in British history. Instead, the conversation had turned toward division. And at the center of it all was a growing belief that the future king had made his choice. But just when the debate seemed to reach its peak, another rumor surfaced, one that shifted the entire narrative again. Several royal insiders began suggesting that the decision might not have come from William alone. Behind the scenes, they claimed, King Charles III had quietly given his approval, effectively handing his eldest son more authority over how the monarchy handles the Sussex situation moving forward. If that's true, then the story is no longer just about two feuding brothers. It becomes something much bigger. Because if the king himself stepped back from the conflict and allowed William to take control, then what we're witnessing might actually be the beginning of a new royal power structure. And that raises a far more uncomfortable question. Was this ban really about Balmoral, or was it the first sign that the monarchy has officially moved on without Harry? But just when it seemed like the story had reached its peak, another revelation quietly slipped out of royal circles. And this one changed the entire narrative. Because according to several insiders who claim to have knowledge of recent palace discussions, the alleged Balmoral decision may only be one piece of a much larger plan unfolding behind the scenes. A plan connected to the long-term future of the monarchy itself. Over the past few months, royal observers have noticed subtle but significant changes in how authority is being exercised within the palace. While King Charles III remains firmly on the throne, multiple reports suggest that day-to-day decisions surrounding family matters and institutional strategy are increasingly being handled by his eldest son, Prince William. And according to one palace insider quoted by a royal correspondent, this shift isn't accidental. The king is still the king, the source reportedly explained. But there is a growing understanding inside the institution that William represents the future, and the future sometimes requires firmer boundaries. That statement alone raised eyebrows among royal watchers. Because for decades, the monarchy survived largely through quiet diplomacy and careful avoidance of open family conflicts. But the approach now being attributed to William appears far more direct. Instead of attempting to smooth over disagreements, the strategy seems focused on drawing clear lines that determine who represents the institution and who operates outside of it. And that brings the story back to the controversy surrounding Prince Harry. Ever since he and Meghan Markle stepped away from their official royal duties in 2020, the couple have built a new life across the Atlantic, launching media ventures, interviews, and projects that often revisit their experiences inside the royal family. Some supporters view their actions as brave truth-telling. Others see them as damaging public criticism of an institution built on discretion. Either way, every new statement has kept the tension alive. And now insiders claim the palace may be preparing for a future in which that tension is no longer managed through negotiation, but through separation. The alleged Balmoral decision, if accurate, would represent a symbolic turning point. For generations, the estate at Balmoral Castle has been a place where family members gather away from the cameras, a private refuge closely tied to the legacy of Elizabeth II. Limiting access to that space would send a message that resonates far beyond a single summer invitation. It would suggest that the monarchy has chosen a path forward that no longer revolves around repairing the past. But the final twist may be the most surprising of all. Several royal commentators now believe that the approaching 100th anniversary celebration honoring Queen Elizabeth could become a defining moment for the institution. The event is expected to draw global attention, with tributes highlighting her decades of service and stability during times of enormous change. And according to speculation circulating in media circles, the palace may use that moment not only to celebrate the past, but also to quietly reinforce the monarchy's future direction. A direction increasingly shaped by William. If that happens, the so-called Balmoral controversy may end up being remembered as the first visible sign that the transition had already begun, long before any official announcement was ever made. Still, many questions remain unanswered. Did William truly impose a boundary that prevents Harry from returning to Balmoral? Did King Charles deliberately step back to allow his heir to take control of the situation? Or are these leaks and rumors simply fragments of a much larger story that hasn't fully surfaced yet? One thing is certain. Inside royal circles, the conversation is far from over. Because when power shifts quietly within a centuries-old institution, the most important decisions rarely happen in public view. They unfold slowly, behind closed doors, long before the world realizes what has changed. And if the whispers coming from palace insiders are even partly true, the next chapter of this royal drama may already be taking shape. The only question now is what the next revelation will be, and when it will finally come to light. As this story continues to unfold, one thing is becoming impossible to ignore: the royal drama surrounding Prince William and Prince Harry may be far from over. What started as quiet tension inside palace walls has now turned into a global conversation about loyalty, power, and the future of the monarchy itself. Think about it for a moment. For years, the public saw these two brothers as inseparable. They stood side by side through some of the most emotional chapters in royal history, especially after the heartbreaking loss of Princess Diana. Many believed that shared experience would keep them united no matter what happened. But today, the picture looks very different. With reports suggesting that Harry may no longer have the same access to Balmoral Castle, and with insiders claiming that King Charles III has begun shifting more authority toward his heir, the spotlight is now firmly on what kind of monarchy William might one day lead. Is this simply a family dispute that has spiraled into public drama? Or are we witnessing a deeper transformation inside the royal institution, one that could reshape how the monarchy operates for decades to come? And perhaps the most fascinating question of all, could there ever be a path back for Harry? Or has the divide between the brothers grown too wide to repair? As preparations continue for tributes honoring the extraordinary legacy of Elizabeth II, the world is watching closely to see how the royal family navigates this delicate moment. Because sometimes, the biggest turning points in history happen quietly, long before they are fully understood. Now we want to hear from you. Do you think William was right to draw a firm line when it comes to protecting the monarchy? Or do you believe family should always come before royal duty? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. This debate is just getting started. And if you enjoy deep dives into royal mysteries, hidden palace politics, and the stories that the headlines only hint at, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss the next shocking update. Because in the world of royal drama, the next twist is always just around the corner.